And now we come to our last talk for today, again from one of the successful players. Gram Games achieved over 150 million downloads with their apps, and they are going to share now some of their strategies and how they achieved that. And the speaker who's going to do that is Kerem Almedar, based in UK and now here in Berlin. Kerem, the stage is yours.
Hello. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Hi, I'm Kerem, doing UA for 3 years now for Gram Games. It happens to be I release over 150 games, which happens to be 8 of them went to global. Now, since we are in business of both monetization models, I will talk about the different strategies that we are using on every stage for our games. First of all, who we are. Gram Games founded in 2012. After a couple of challenging years, we came up with the idea of 1010, which is our most successful game by now. And since 2014, we released 9 more games. And yeah. So, why are they so different, ad-based and in-app purchase? So there is 2 major monetization models for games currently, which is one of them is ad, and the other of them is in-app purchases. 80% of the titles, which is live today, generating their revenue from one single monetization model, but since like 2015, every game developer tries to leverage from both monetization models. What is ad-based? Ad-based is we define ad-based as a B2B model. Why? Because actually with the title, with the game you created, you define an audience and get the scale. What are you doing with this audience? You are actually selling this audience to other titles or actually ad networks. On the other side, in-app purchase is totally B2C business model, which you are generating your revenue directly from the users, which wants to get ahead in your game and get more points. So it all starts with the production pipeline. I'm working with indie developers as well as our side program, and I'm always hearing something like, we want to create the best game ever. I never understand this term because it's not related to anything. We are not working for charity, so we have to generate revenues. So the term should relate it with the best monetization ever. How do we do that? First, it starts with production. On game design level, you have to decide on your monetization so you can build a game according to that. On the production pipeline, you have to implement and create a game based on what you choose on the design, and it changed almost everything. So, on ad monetization, first of all, the focus is core gameplay, which makes users stay in your game, which is why it's fun. And it's easy. The second thing is short-term retention. For ad-based titles, day 1, day 7, day 14, and day 30, it's quite important. For ad spaces and session times, since we are leveraging from ads, we need to show impressions. Session times, actually, where you show the ads, it defines how much impressions you are going to show. And ad spaces is what you can show to the players. It took to create a game, such a game, averagely 2 months. It's quite fast to produce. On in-app purchase titles, focus on metagame to create an emotion between player and the game. And it's content heavy. It checks long-term retention, day 1, day 7, day 14. It's not that important because day 60, day 90, and almost day 360 is more important on these years. It took averagely 1 year to produce such a game, but depends on the title. You can produce it in 6 months as well. So while they're producing, we are also on the UA side doing soft launches. The main goal is to provide the game team, production team, enough data so they can create the game. But here on the UA side, we also have to decide if we are ever going to release this title. So we have some metrics that we are checking on soft launch and deciding according to that. For ad monetization games, install rate and volume predictions are quite important. With major ad networks, you are defining an install rate, and you are estimating with that install rate what you are going to get in global launch, after global launch. Representative CPM country, you have to choose for your soft launch representative CPM countries for your main markets. Like if you are targeting US on global lines, you have to pick countries that actually be representative of US. Install CPM-wise what you are going to get. Erosion calculations, I will talk about it later. LTV predictions for global launch, and a soft launch for an ad-based title usually takes 2 months. In a purchase side, we check conversion rates on different tiers. You have to understand your conversion rate in every tier so you can act on it. Identifying your audience and deciding on targeting is quite important because not like ad-based titles, you have an audience now which you can generate the revenue. To find that audience is quite important. LTV productions to define your ROAS goals, return of ad spend goals, and it takes usually 6 months, but the best is to do it at least a year. On the global launch, it's actually easy. On global launch, we are bursting the ad-based titles because DAU is quite important. But on the other side, in a purchase side, it is actually more risky to do burst campaigns. You don't know your game and long-term retentions like day 720, so you have to be careful. This is the erosion model which I mentioned. So we realized that retention is not enough to predict the LTV for ad-based titles. For ad-based titles, a user does more impressions at the beginning of his lifetime, and each day the user does less sessions and sees less ads. So you have to calculate according to that. Average, the green one, not blue-green one, is the user age. When the average user age increases, your RTAUs start to decrease. On the other end, for IAP titles, user age defines something. Usually your RTAUs increase with the user age, but in general, you don't see that effect. As you can see, nothing fluctuates that much because of the user age. So on the UA side, what we are doing, it's defining, with the monetization model, we are defining our strategies. Bidding methodology. Bidding is affected by retention metrics, early retention metrics, general eCPM fluctuation, which is because of the hype of the advertisers, like Christmas season, CPMs goes up. Affected by your DAU, more DAU means more leverage against ad networks, which you can get more CPMs. Affected by other players, like when someone like big companies start to burst their games, you got your eCPMs increase quite a lot, which affects your UA. On IAP side, in-game metrics usually defines your marketing methodologies, like conversion rates, ROAS, customer satisfaction, and in-game maintenance. This is how we calculate bid targets. Lifetime multiplies by IAP, and on the other side, we are calculating conversion value multiplies by conversion rate. And the last, what we do at Gram Games, we take consideration for ad-based titles T-60 and T-30 retention data, last 7 days average ARC-DAUs, and seasonality and market fluctuation. On IAP side, we take in consideration T-28 to T-7 spending curves, then based on conversion rates of last week, and historical data if we don't have a significant C on what we are looking, and you define your desired payback time for that game, which defines your ROAS goals, which defines your bidding methodologies. For targeting, ad-based title is quite basic because everybody is your target. There's no differences between audiences, like you can't know how much eCPMs they're more bidding for women's, for example, or men, or different age groups. Retention normalizes after a certain volume, which means when you got enough volume from a certain source, it normalized to your organic retention. Differentiating device base, like different devices, iPhone 7, iPhone 8, it's quite hard, so you don't target those things for ad-based titles. For IAP titles, audiences has different values, like even genders, age groups has different values to spend. Differentiating devices, like an audience, is quite easy. You can understand, you are getting those informations through adjust, and fluctuate by other games' UA strategies. When they burst, when a player gets into the game, everything in your CPIs increase as well as if your UA sources change your UA models, like focusing on other markets than your desire, your install numbers goes down. Creative optimization's main thing is install rate on ad-based titles, because volume is the most important thing. Generic and gameplay focused, you can try whatever you want, but gameplay wins always for ad-based titles. Your marketing efforts, creative, doesn't change in-game metrics, and your videos or banners saturate quite fast. On the other hand, in a purchase title, ROAS is the main metric for optimizations. Different ad concepts attracts different user base, which you can see on monetization side, conversion rates. Saturation is quite low. You can use a video and attract same audience for almost 3 months, and localization is quite important since the gameplay is quite, quite complex. So unknown advantages of ad-base. Ad-base, I said, B2B business. So ad networks want you to have more DAU, more volume, so they can sell those inventory to bigger clients, which can end up doing really good deals with ad networks, what you can use on UA side. The second is on investment side, actually. It's ad-based titles, you can get your money back in a month. If you spend $1 this month, you will get it back $1.2 next month. So for the cash flow of the company, it's quite a useful thing. So as I said before, most most of the biggest titles using both monetization models. You can have the leverage. You can use this leverage against your UA sources, get UA credits or boosts. But there's a bad side of it. You can also cannibalize your users by letting them to play similar games. At the end, takeaways, return of investment is short, the time. On Napper's line, it's quite long. It takes 1 year at least. Revenue per user is low. On ad-based sites, that's why you have to have a lot of users. But on IAP side, from my single users, you can make more money. On production side, it's quite easy to produce ad-based titles, and IAP, it's more complex. UA optimizations on ad-based titles based on lifetime, and on the other side, it's based on the monetization, conversion rates, and ROAS. Maintenance, you don't have to do much for ad-based titles. It's quite easy to maintain, but for IAP titles, you have to create always a new content for the player. And for the business model, at last, it's ad-based is a B2B, and IAP is a B2C business model. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, guys, any questions from your side? Very good.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for your presentation. I have a question regarding UA for ad-based apps. Do you see a different value in users that you sell ads to? So you may buy a premium user that will generate higher eCPM, or you may buy non-premium user with lower eCPM. Do you see that differentiation?
Yeah, of course. There are some technologies that would help you to pinpoint ad whales, but it's still not quite good like we want. So actually getting those users, it's a little bit luck, but you can see like from different UA sources, different eCPMs at your end.
Great. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.